Even if they don't get to university, they come out through tertiary colleges.
Right.
They already are a product of themselves. They already can get into the market. And
in fact, most of the education stakeholders have been pushing for students who complete high school to join the technical universities, which also do a lot of hands-on skills.
Yes.
So that means for kids to start off as early as, you know, that will be a big benefit for them.
Yes. And, you know, the critics would say that it's a lot of work for the parents, it's a lot of work for the teachers. However, with the right implementation, and what, you know, we are advocating for is, first of all, for the government to come advocate for the CBC program. Advocate for it, tell parents, provide enough civic education, particularly in informal settlements and rural areas. What can you do in your area in order to be able to implement this system effectively?
Yes.
And then on the next level is, how do we now sensitize the parents to understand the importance of this curriculum? Is it important to me as a parent, or is it important to my child, or is it important to the teacher?
Exactly.
It's important to all the three, and that's what we need to understand. So first of all is the advocacy. Then secondly, they need to pump in more money for implementation, because certain areas there's lack of, you know, proper implementation, like in the informal settlements, particularly in my area, Westlands. Kangemi has just 3 public schools. The rest of the children are spilling over into UPBET schools, which are somehow private schools, but just a support system for the public schools in the informal settlements.
Yes, we'll definitely be talking about that issue of congestion. Do you think that parents probably need more time to digest all this CBC factor? Because, of course, we've seen on social media a section of parents who are still not satisfied with this CBC, taking to social media to highlight, you know, the challenges they are facing, having to be there for their children to tackle this and that. So there is a factor of time, there is a factor of money. You know, most parents saying that the CBC is really using quite a lot in terms of resources.
In terms of resources, I mean, I'm a parent myself. I have a 4th grader, a 9-year-old, and I'm fully embracing the system. And first of all, what it's doing for us parents is to start working with our children, to reconnect with our children. We've seen how our society's fabric has been broken for the past years, let's say 10 or so years. We are having a lot of suicides, we are having a lot of, you know, misbehavior, we're having a lot of juveniles, and this is some of it falling back onto how are we parenting our children, are we in their lives? Because at some point we had sort of pushed it to the school teacher. So the school teacher will take care of the child, both the academic and the behavior. But
and
now,
you know, they always say, Sylvia, that the first parent, I mean the first teacher
is the parent at home. That's what we have to take that responsibility. And if you do embrace CBC, you'll actually as a parent get to understand where the gaps are in your child's level of learning, where you need to push here, and where you cannot force your child to go for mathematics. And if you sit your child and you know that your child doesn't like mathematics, as a parent, that's when you decide that my child is actually more attuned to music as opposed to mathematics. But if you leave it to the teacher, the teacher will make sure they pass all the subjects because they have to satisfy their,
You know, when you mentioned mathematics, it took me back a little bit because, well, it wasn't my best. And it got to a point and I was like, wow, you know, I have been getting punished, you know, because I'm not getting it. So I went to my teacher and told him, like, honestly, I'm not getting it, please. So you treat me in a certain way.
Exactly. And that's what CBC is actually identifying. What is this child capable of? What are this child's talents? And what is this child able to achieve within this short period of time, as opposed to putting, you know, marks on them and putting pressure and, you know, goalposts that, you know, you must attain this at a certain stage. So parents need to embrace it. I'm a parent, I'm embracing it. And, you know, the ones in the informal settlements are finding it expensive, as you say, in terms of resources. But I was in a school just last week, and I was amazed at what the head teacher has done. She has literally managed to use carton boxes. They bring in plastic bottles. They've made a fan out of a plastic bottle.
The usual things that
yeah,
we
the
have
usual
in
things
our
around you. And, you know, our city is dirty because we're not recycling.
Yes.
So let's pack all these things and give them to the schools because they will find a way to use them as part of their, you know, creativity. Yeah.
Now, talking about either the simplicity of it, you know, having to use hands-on something, probably to understand even better. But CBC has its complications as well. We cannot fail to talk about that, especially on matters the digital divide.
Yes.
Yeah, in terms of internet access, there are rural areas and the informal settlements we are talking about. They hardly know what internet is or probably how to even use it. Their parents don't even have access to a tab or, you know, data or something like that. How will this pan out, you know, in the near future for them not to be left behind?
That's what I said. You know, the government needs to look further into it and look at, you know, extending the budget, an additional budget to provide these resources. Because first of all, even for the teacher to be able to submit the weekly work that the children have worked on throughout the week, they have to submit that to NEC. And they can only do that through uploading it using any digital device on the website, on the NEC's portal. So this is a challenge to many, many schools. And we're talking about the schools in the informal settlements and the schools in the rural areas. First of all, you must have the gadgets. You must have either the laptop or computer or, you know, iPad to be able to do that. If you don't have those devices, you cannot even look for internet first of all. And then now we also have faced the internet issues because not the entire country is connected to the internet. So these are issues that really need to be addressed by the government, by the Ministry of Education. As soon as possible, because we are already in class 5.
Yes, we are. Now, let's talk about the congestion issue that you mentioned earlier. You know, different challenges, of course, facing the you know, primary school students, and especially on matters of infrastructure. There are poorer areas, you know, where children take so long to and from school. What would be your wish probably for the government to ease congestion and at least just make sure that education is, you know, is simple for them?
Yes, one of the things that the President Uhuru announced on Madaraka Day was an increase in public schools, construction of more in public schools, and he mentioned above 10,000 schools across the country. So some of these schools, I wish that the Ministry of Education categorizes them and makes sure they disperse these funds into the really, really needy areas. If we talk about the informal settlements, the problem is actually congestion. But when you talk about the rural areas, the problem is the distance to the nearest school. So they need to add schools because since I think for many, many years now, we have not had new schools come up, new public schools, I mean, come up in this country.
We need to see a change.
We need to see a change. We need to add more brick and mortar classrooms for our children.
Now, your view on how CBC will turn out in 2030, you know, when the graduates will be seeking for jobs. With the 844, we said that, you know, things have not been so good, even in terms of job seeking. It has been quite a challenge, biting. In your view, how do you think it will pan out for these students looking for jobs?
First of all, the beauty of the CBC is that through the implementation process, as the kids are breaking out, we realize that, you know, after the middle school, they are able to have their own skills. And this is why I advocate for it, that your child will learn what they know they are good in from the age of 9 years old. They start to specialize. So by the time they step out of the middle school, which is about the age of 14, they already know what they are qualified for. So that way they can go to either the TVET college, or they can proceed to, after the secondary school, they can go to the TVET college and enhance their skill. If they are in music, they go to a musical technical college, enhance their skill. Whatever skill they are specializing in, they will know by that time.
Yes.
So they are no longer waiting for somebody to give them a mark.
A white-collar job.
A white-collar job. So those ones, you can imagine, once they face off, they join entrepreneurial businesses, they start their own enterprises, and then the rest that are left are now the ones joining university.
Yes.
So you understand that the population of the university will also depend now on how many people want to move on to university. So by the time we're done with the entire the entire group,
yes,
this pioneer group, we will have a really diverse class where you'll have some entrepreneurs, you'll have specialized doctors, you'll have specialized teachers, and you'll have specialized plumbers.
Oh, what
you'll have
wild.
specialized musicians, and then you will have doctors graduating from the university. That's the ideal scenario.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, it's the ideal scenario.
We do hope that you know, that will be a success.
Yes.
Now, there has been confusion over the transition process from CBC students joining the junior secondary school. Maybe you can explain to us on what exactly that means and where it starts.
Because, I mean, all they are having is an assessment. So as they are finishing in grade 9, they get an assessment, they get assessed. And once they're assessed on the skills and where they've reached in terms of their learning, what they've acquired. And this is a comprehension of everything.
Yes.
It's not just mathematics. It's not, is what have you achieved in your sports? What have you achieved as a human being, as a child, as, you know, person or responsible person in the country, because you are going to be a future leader in this country, and what have you achieved in your specific learning areas. Because
that's in grade 9.
Yes, because we don't put it as subjects, it's learning areas.
Okay.
Yeah. So their achievement now is when now they proceed to the middle school, yeah, to the senior school. And when they now get into the senior school, is now the specializing.
Yes.
So that's the transition. So it's no longer the exam, the KCSE, KCPE.
Okay.
You're waiting for your exams, and then you get to high school, bang. Things get difficult, and then the mathematics change. No, it's just a continuation of what they've been doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right. And now, during the recent capture conference that was held, the conference resolved to back the proposal to have or to convert all secondary schools into day schools. And you mentioned one of the things about arson cases in schools. And okay, your take on that. Like, will this give more parents time to be with their parents, or how does this come out?
Yeah, I'm a great advocate for day schools because I believe we've come of age now, and with proximity, good connection, infrastructure,
yes,
you can have your child go to school and come back home. And, you know, you're in control, you have an idea of what your child is going through. If there's any depression cases, you deal with them.
Yes.
In good time. If there's any challenges in school, you deal with them in time. You're able to communicate with the teacher to understand the progress. The boarding school is different because you put the child away for 3 months, and when they come back, you hardly or barely know who they are because they've been with the teachers in the boarding schools.
Okay.
Which worked for me. I mean, there was no issue, and I believe most of us in our group. But going forward, I don't think it's a hindrance. I think it's a good progress, and I think it will help us.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see how that pans out.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That has been Sylvia Mulama. She is an education expert, just speaking to us on the status of CBC, especially in the informal settlements. Thank you also for watching K24 Daily Brief. My name is Wenjiro Maina, but stick around for K24 Newscast at exactly 1 p.m.